I consider her a legend, in fact, a hero, and I firmly believe that history in the coming decades and generations is going to be very kind to her because of heroic journalism that she has done for many years now. And this is Linda Moulton Howe, and we're going to talk for the next 2 hours. So, Linda, welcome to my show.
Well, it's really nice to be here, Rich, because there aren't many of us trying to pay attention about what is actually happening on this planet that might be more relevant to our past, present, and future than many of the headlines today, which seem to be calculated deflections from what is really going on. And I think that the path that I have, that you have, and a few others have tried in terms of just finding facts, that our government has had policies of denial concerning other life in the universe and a long list. And the huge irony, as you know, is we're not alone in the universe. We never have been. And the fact that we are now talking about a subject that still has not been leveraged open and embraced around this planet by all governments is astonishing to me. And now we have mysteries upon mysteries that seem to be coming upon each other every week, every month, and one of the big ones for the last 2 years have been all of these strange booms.
Yeah.
And in my own records, there was this moment when I started getting a whole lot of emails saying I was waked up, I was shaken out of my bed, talked with people in the spring of 2012. It goes that far of this type. From about the spring of 2011 till about at least the summer, the midsummer of 2012, everybody was saying that they could feel thumps against the bottoms of their shoes or cracks in sidewalks, garage doors completely shaking. Some people were worrying that the garage doors might come literally out of their hinges. In that period of time, from the spring of 2011 until somewhere around the spring to the summer of 2012, there was one case, 100 square miles was the estimate of the geography in San Diego County. And this boom was reported by hundreds of people to TV, radio, 911 police, and it included a boat that was out, they estimated, about 500 yards from the dock in San Diego.
Okay.
And they had waves. They heard the sound. And everyone said, including a TV anchor that I talked to, who he said I was physically knocked out of my bed because of a sound and a thump on the wall right next to him where he was sleeping. He said this was so percussive and felt like it was coming from the ground. And reinforcing that, in May of 2012, we had the famous case in Clintonville, Wisconsin, of the mayor there who had for 10 days hundreds of people reporting booms, and she herself, the night before I interviewed her, she had been out with police, with fire, with emergency people. They were trying to find out where is all of this sound coming from, and she felt on the bottoms of her own feet these terrible thumps. She said, Linda, it hurt the shin bones of my legs. So they were all focused on the ground, underground, and yet there was no USGS seismic recording until the day before she held a press conference after all of this phenomena and announced to 100 and some people in Clintonville, Wisconsin, and CNN and MSNBC picked it up, and they said, oh, we now have the answer. It was a 1.4 earthquake the day before, and it's all over, and you can all go away. It's seismic. Now, that I share that right now to explain that for 2 years we have had all kinds of public reports. This is physical interaction. Authorities say they have no answers, or if they ever provide an answer, it is a case like Clintonville that makes no sense for 10 days of phenomena. And now, it began in your end of the country. This was in the Providence, Warwick, Somerset area, Salem, Massachusetts. A lot of dramatic events that fall. I have a video from a security camera that captured the huge crack of the boom with a bright flash of light, which is now going to be relevant to a story I'm going to share with you that is an exact replica of what happened in the East Coast in October, but we're going to jump to January, bypassing. There are so many. I could talk to you for another 10 minutes just bringing you up to speed on the drama of what has occurred in my own map that I keep now of 25 regions of the United States in which there's been local media coverage. 911 has been contacted. I have talked with a lot of people in all of these areas, and this is October now to January. We're jumping. And in this particular case, there had been on January 7th to the 9th, get those dates in your head, there had been a lot of media coverage about loud booms and bright flashes of light making windows go bright white in 3 states called the tri-state region of southwestern Indiana, southeastern Illinois, and northwestern Kentucky, where those 3 states come together. There were hundreds and hundreds of calls, and at the University of Evansville in Indiana, a physicist was brought in to try to figure this out. His name is Jeffrey Braun. He's a PhD. And after spending some time with the data and with the emergency and 911 people, this was a conclusion he gave to a TV station in Indiana. Quote, "At this point, nobody seems to know. The geologists say it's not in the ground. The Air Force says it's not in the air. The astronomers say it's not from space. So we're running out of options." Now, at that exact same time period of January 7th to January 9th, tri-state, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, go west in your mind's eye to Cedar Hills, Utah, which is not very far from Provo, is at least 2 mountain ranges south of the Ogden base in Utah. So not close to a military base. At his home in Cedar Hills, which is a small suburb 15 miles northwest of Provo, was 35-year-old James Brown. And he was caring for his newborn son and 2-year-old toddler while his wife, Amy, worked at a local elementary school. And the couple had moved into this house 3 years before, so they were very familiar with the environment. And they had never heard or seen anything like what happens January 8th, 9th, and 10th. And this includes bright flashes and repeating booms, and even stranger, 1 week before on New Year's Day, and this is important, the family was driving home from their holiday celebration at some relatives, and they were in American Fork, not very far from their home in Cedar Hills, and suddenly in this dark sky appeared lights in the pattern of a triangle not far above their car. And amazed, Jim Brown pulled over to the side of the road near the Mount Timpanogos, Utah Mormon Temple. And now you're going to hear from Jim and Amy in Cedar Hills, Utah, what happened that day and what happened during January 8th, 9th, and 10th, remembering that booms and light flashes were going on in 3 states during the same time period that baffled the physicist.
Great.
So here now, at the beginning, is Jim Brown.
We were driving by there, and within about 200 to 300 feet of us, less than a football field away, right above us were these bright orange lights. And I pulled the car over, rolled the window down, and my wife was looking through the windshield, and there were 3 lights in a triangle formation, and they were stationary when we first saw it. Hard to tell how large it was because it was at night. Stayed stationary for about 10 seconds. The bottom 2 lights actually started rising up together until it became parallel with the ground.
So the triangle pivoted, staying in the same triangular shape, but it pivoted on the top light, and now it's in the sky horizontally.
Exactly. So for 10 seconds it was stationary and made that pivot. The pivot was done in about a 5-second period. So it was fairly quickly. At that point, it appeared to be flying off. I couldn't see if the lights were affixed to anything or not. It flew off at a pretty good clip. I would say probably less than 100 miles an hour, but close to that.
When it was 50 to 100 feet above you, could you or your wife hear any sound?
Absolutely no sound at all.
You opened the door or the window?
Yeah, when it was pivoting, I opened the door and stood out on the street, tried to get a video of it, which didn't happen.
Okay, and at that point you did not hear anything, even when it was pivoting?
Nothing at all.
So now, go forward in time from the 7 o'clock, January 1st, 2013, to the next event.
Okay, the next event was the 8th. So on Tuesday, my wife is a school teacher. She teaches 3rd grade. She was in school teaching, and I was home with my 2 kids. It was in the early afternoon, and my infant was asleep, and I was getting ready to put my 2-year-old in bed. I thought there was an earthquake. It was a boom that lasted for about 5 seconds. It's a boom and a rumble. The University of Utah has online seismic tracking. I pulled it up. There was nothing recorded. It was weird. It didn't seem like an earthquake. It didn't seem like it was coming from the ground. It seemed like it was coming from the sky, from above me. There was a deep rumbling, but from the sky. I heard 3 of those in the next 2 hours. The 3rd one shook my house, my windows. It lasted for 20 seconds, and I thought we were getting ready for a major earthquake. It was very unnerving.
What times would the 3 events on January 8th have been?
Started at 1 and it went till about 3.
And about how much time in between each one?
Well, there were 3 events in those 2 hours. The first one happened at 1, and the next one happened about 45 minutes after that. And then the 3rd one happened again about a half an hour after that one.
And each time it was stronger?
The 3rd one was the strongest for sure. The first 2 were about the same. They lasted for about 5 seconds. Very loud. It seemed sonic. Like there was a war happening above me is what it sounded like.
A war?
Yeah, like things exploding above me is what it sounded like.
Did you go outside?
I did. I looked around. I didn't see anything. In the evening of that same day on Tuesday, we heard a couple of booms, but they were more singular booms. And it started about 9 o'clock. And I had told my wife when she got home about this. She said she didn't feel anything down in Highland where she works, which is just 5 minutes away from me, just down into the valley a little bit more.
Well, one of the things about this phenomena is how focused it can be, where somebody in a house or 2 is experiencing what they think is something so loud that everybody should hear for miles around, and yet nobody else hears.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's in the evening of January 8th, and your wife is home, and your children. What is it that now happens at around 9 p.m.?
Well, now we started hearing several booms, and there were some that I said were singular booms, like a boom, like an explosion, so there's no rumble. And then there were other occurrences where it was a rumble. The first couple that I heard, I said, because I had told my wife about earlier in the day, she said she didn't hear anything or feel anything. The first couple I heard, she didn't notice. And then all of a sudden there was one that was a loud rumble. It shook the house a little bit. She was like, okay, yeah. And that was after 9. And it continued, I would say, 4 to 5 instances between then until a little after 11. And a little after 11, we were upstairs in our bedroom watching TV. We were just getting ready to go to sleep. In our windows, we have a fairly large window that faces directly east. We have our wood blinds closed with our curtains over the top of that because we have a street light right outside of our house here. There was a flash, as if somebody was standing on our roof next to our windows with a flash on the camera right in our window. It was extremely bright.
In that clear, still night, Jim Brown's wife, Amy, also saw the bright flash of light at their bedroom window, followed by a loud boom that scared her.
All of a sudden there was a flash outside, as if there was someone, taking a picture outside of the house. Mm-hmm. Just this really random flash, almost like lightning almost, too, but there was no thunder.
It was clear weather.
Yeah, and there was a loud boom, and then that loud rumbling again afterwards.
When you heard the booms, what would be the closest emotion or thought about what was happening that came into your mind?
I was scared.